No one sets out to make a bad movie, certainly not the worst movie of all time, and the very idea of a movie being bad is highly subjective. But this movie, more than most, went for the title right out of the gate through a series of decisions that leaves any viewer wondering, where did this garbage come from, and can we put it back? Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of the Garbage Pail Kids Movie. Sheath for sponsoring this video. Use promo code TOYGALAXY to get 20% off your order today. Sheath is here to change your underwear. Yeah, laugh all you want, but this is no joking matter, because your comfort is serious business. Your support is serious business. Your presentation is serious business. Sheath features separate compartments for maximum performance and wearability, and with winter approaching, Sheath has released some great new gear to keep you nice and cozy all winter long, like the dual pouch base layers and a fitted bamboo hoodie. Sheath underwear was invented by a United States Army soldier during his second tour in Iraq. While the Army provided him with all the tools he needed to conduct his mission, they didn't give him the resources he needed to protect his unit from heat, from sweat, from the discomfort caused by drawers that weren't up to the task. Sheath has super fast shipping to get your package delivered. Click the link below and use code TOYGALAXY at checkout, or go to sheathunderwear.com/TOYGALAXY for 20% off. That's sheathunderwear.com/TOYGALAXY, or just click the link below and use code TOYGALAXY for 20% off. Thank you again to Sheath. The Garbage Pail Kids movie was released in 1987, directed by Rod Amato. It is a live-action adaptation of the wildly popular trading cards first produced by Topps in 1985. Like many kids, my mom wouldn't let me see this movie when it came out, so I'm here to tell you that after watching it for this video, I understand why. Dodger is a 15-year-old boy just trying to get through the day like every other teenager. You know, working at a spooky antique shop owned by an eccentric man named Captain Manzini, who isn't just some illusionist. He literally knows magic. Dodger has a crush on an older girl named Tangerine, an aspiring fashion designer who just happens to be in a relationship with an abusive guy named Juice. Along with Juice's two friends, the four older kids have a love for kicking ass and taking names, both belonging to Dodger. Captain Manzini has warned Dodger that there is only one thing in his shop of curiosities that should not be trifled with: a seemingly regular garbage can that occasionally oozes slime, and on top of which he has placed a heavy metal diving helmet to prevent whatever is inside from getting outside. When the time comes for his next butt-kicking, Juice, Tangerine, and the gang confront Dodger at Captain Manzini's shop. During the ruckus, the garbage can is knocked over, but before anyone bothers to check what might have come out, Juice, Tangerine, and the rest of the gang instead attempt to murder Dodger in the sewer outside. After knocking him unconscious and dropping him in the sewer, the gang open a pipe that spills raw sewage all over Dodger. Then they leave him there to, die. There's no other way to put it. He is saved by the Garbage Pail Kids, a group of 7 very strange kids, or small adults, or aliens, or magical creatures, each with their own special powers like vomiting, bad breath, Italian stereotyping, urinary incontinence, and mega farts. They are unconventional heroes inspired by unconventional source material. Are they from another world, another dimension? Can they help Dodger win Tangerine's heart while avoiding imprisonment in the state home for the ugly? Can they stop their overactive bodily functions from getting in the way of finding their old friends, making new friends, and experience the freedom outside the garbage pail? The Garbage Pail Kids movie was based on The Garbage Pail Kids: The Cards, a series of trading cards produced by Topps beginning in 1985. For the long version of the story, check out our video, The History of Garbage Pail Kids. For the short version, in 1967, Topps produced a series of trading cards called Wacky Packages. Each card featured a parody of consumer products ranging from Crust toothpaste to Jolly Mean Giant to Cover Ghoul. New cards were released from 1973 to 1976 and then again in 1985. One card in particular that was produced but never released in the 1985 series was a card called Garbage Pail Kids, conceived of by Mark Newgarden and painted by John Pound. It was a parody of the pop culture sensation Cabbage Patch Kids, a line of dolls released by Coleco a few years earlier in 1983. See, given the popularity of the dolls, everyone, including Topps, wanted to get in on the cabbage gravy train. The dolls had done nearly $2 billion in sales in 1983. In 1984, Topps attempted to license Cabbage Patch Kids from Original Appalachian Artworks, the company owned by Cabbage creator Xavier Roberts, at which time OAA declined. Trading cards would be beneath the tenor of the Cabbage Patch Kids. Topps decided to get in the game one way or another, pivoting to parody instead of legitimate Cabbage collectible. The line was directed by Art Spiegelman and Mark Newgarden, with John Pound as the primary artist, creating a painting a day for 2 months. They dug out the unreleased Garbage Pail Kids card and built an entire 41 card set with that as the inspiration. The set doubled to 82 by the inclusion of an A version and a B version of each kid. New Wave Dave and Graffiti Petey, Dead Ted and Jay Decay, Drippy Dan and Leaky Lou. John Pound established an aesthetic that evoked a visual and emotional tension. Cute, sweet kids painted in bright, warm colors, smiling as they experienced horrible things. Mutilation, sickness, murder, embarrassment. Like most counterculture trends, Garbage Pail Kids were fueled by the opposition to them. Parents, teachers, religious leaders, all giving the cards the stink eye, forgetting that nothing could be more rebellious or more attractive for a 10-year-old in 1985 than to spend 25 cents to send a message that they could not be controlled.
The West Virginia Treasurer A. James Manchin says the cards threaten the well-being of children, and after getting dozens of complaints, he's asking stores to pull them from their shelves.
The more adults tried to prevent the growth, the more popular they got. Classic reverse psychology. Schools banned them, stores sold out. Parents begged Topps to stop producing them, they sold even faster. In May of 1986, Original Appalachian Artworks had had enough. It was clear that Garbage Pail Kids could not exist without the reputation and success of Cabbage Patch Kids, and that Topps had gone so far as to very clearly base the visual design of the Garbage Pail Kids on the Cabbage Patch Kids. OAA sued Topps for $30 million over copyright infringement. The suit was ultimately settled out of court, with Topps agreeing to pay $7 million, which was, ironically, about what the licensing fee would have been if they had paid it from the beginning. Topps also agreed to pay retroactive royalties on cards already produced and any additional royalties going forward. Additionally, Topps had to redesign the kids, the logo, and everything about Garbage Pail Kids that looked like Cabbage Patch Kids. At the same time, Topps was already attempting to capitalize on the popularity of Garbage Pail Kids by expanding to other media, DC Comics with a comic book and CBS with an animated series. DC ultimately backed out due to the increasingly vocal opposition by parents groups to the dangerous existence of the cards, and despite the fact that 13 episodes were produced, the cartoon never aired in the US as CBS worried about losing sponsors or affiliates declining to run it. The cartoon was supposed to air in conjunction with the brand new feature film. In February of 1987, Topps entered into a partnership with Atlantic Releasing to produce a live-action Garbage Pail Kids movie. Atlantic Releasing was one of the production companies that helped make 1984's 1984 and Night of the Comet, 1985's He-Man and She-Ra: The Secret of the Sword, and Teen Wolf. A live-action Garbage Pail Kids movie was an obvious step based on the success and pop culture profile of the cards. Heck, that same year in 1987, Mattel had Masters of the Universe in theaters, the next in a series of films that were adapted from kids' properties. Clue and the Care Bears in 1985, Transformers and My Little Pony in 1986. Who initiated the process to get a Garbage Pail Kids movie made isn't totally clear. Mark Newgarden suggested that the director, Rod Amato, was the one that approached Topps to option the rights, and when approached, Topps took the money and let him do what he wanted to. Rod Amato had been working in Hollywood in some capacity since the 1940s, doing stunt work on films like Kiss of Death and Mighty Joe Young. He made his directorial and screenwriting debut on 1951's The Bushwhackers. For the next 30 years, he racked up credits on dozens of movies and television shows. He knew how the industry worked and that sometimes you have to take a job just to keep your standing in the union and make sure you're getting your benefits. If he wasn't working, he wasn't getting paid. Nearing the end of his career, Amato thought a Garbage Pail Kids movie could be a ticket to an easy retirement. For Amato, Garbage Pail Kids was just a paycheck, a fulfillment of his contract to produce a certain number of films. And for the team who were actually producing the cards, that was abundantly clear. As Mark Newgarden put it in an interview with FlickeringMyth.com in 2017, quote, "It was clear he knew literally nothing about Garbage Pail Kids. He was going to do what he was going to do, and Topps didn't want us getting in the way." Amato co-wrote the script with Linda Palmer based on a story concept submitted by Bill Tennant, an executive from Atlantic Leasing. According to Amato in that same Flickering Myth article, quote, "I don't know where he came up with it. He gave it to me on a sheet of paper, we made it a screenplay, and we were shooting in 60 days from the time I walked into his office. It was a very, very, very low budget picture." Newgarden wanted to contribute to the script, but Topps didn't want the production of the film to interfere with the production of the cards. The people actually making the cards had to sit and watch through occasional updates as their baby was barbecued, exploded, flattened, taken apart. Topps wasn't concerned about maintaining the fidelity of the Garbage Pail Kids universe. Every series of cards they had produced they had assumed would be the last. With the litigation from Cabbage Patch Kids hanging over their heads, any income based on the Garbage Pail Kids license was welcomed, whether the film was released or not.
Was it Mrs. White with a rope? Mr. Green with a pipe?
I didn't do it!
Colonel Mustard with a wrench?
I'm only an innocent.
Miss Scarlet with a candlestick?
Practice makes perfect.
Professor Plum with a gun?
What has it got to do with me?
Mrs. Peacock with a knife?
What?
Or did the butler do it?
No.
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 Clue. It's a comedy with 3 different endings. Who done it? Depends on where you see it. Rated PG.
Starts Friday, December 13th at a theater near you.
They had considered a fully animated film and a half-animated, half-live-action film like Roger Rabbit, but both of those were beyond the reach of the $1 million budget. Amato had initially planned for the film to go direct to television, but theaters made sense if they just happened to end up with at least a PG rating. Because a theater release means more ticket sales than just the kids who want to see the movie. See, the kids can't drive themselves. Mom, dad, someone has to take them. A child ticket might be a few dollars, but then you can add in the parents, the friends, anyone else that might get roped in. On top of that, Amato wagered, kids' films can play year after year because there's always new kids. As Amato explained, quote, "A new generation of children grow up every couple of years. You can keep re-releasing that picture." That's what Disney's whole approach was. In other words, the whole reason you can put out Snow White and Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast is because there's new children every year. With a very meager budget of $1 million, the only real option Amato had to realistically portray the Garbage Pail Kids themselves was to hire actors who could fit into costumes with animatronic heads that were roughly child-sized. It was a brutal, painful, harrowing experience for the actors as the suits limited their ability to hear and see and provided no ventilation. As Amato put it in a quote that really says a lot about the kind of person he was, quote, "We got dwarves and put heads on them and found out how long they could survive in there without breathing, and it turned out to be about 5-7 minutes. He continued, "So you had to rehearse everything without the heads on, put the heads on, have a paramedic with a stopwatch, little sons of bitches go in there and you say action and you shoot until they can't breathe." For 2 months from April to June of 1987, the actors had to suffer through the dangerous working conditions. The heads were heavy due to the animatronics needed to control the facial expressions. Those animatronics were designed and controlled by visual effects engineers like John Carl Buechler, a veteran of similarly unsettling movies with practical monster effects like Ghoulies, Dolls, and From Beyond. The suits made for a complicated, drawn-out shoot with actors missing their marks and bumping into each other. The factory they shot in frequently interrupted the radio signals from the controllers, resulting in malfunctions, necessitating additional takes. On top of that, the film's main character, Dodger, was played by Mackenzie Astin. Being only 15 at the time meant shoot times were limited to 8 hours instead of a standard 12 or 15. Brother to Sean Astin, son of Patty Duke and John Astin, Mackenzie hoped the Garbage Pail Kids would mark his shift from television to movies after 3 years on Facts of Life. But once his dad saw the actual script, he did everything he could to get him out of it. This was the kind of movie that could have been a potential career killer. Captain Manzini was played by Anthony Newley, Tangerine was played by Katie Barberi, Juice was played by Ron McLaughlin, who would go on to play Michael John Masterson on Silk Stockings in 1997. The kids were Phil Fondacaro as Greaser Greg, Debbie Lee Carrington as Valerie Vomit, Larry Green as Nat Nerd, Arturo Gill as Windy Winston, Susan Rosito as Messy Tessie, Bobby Bell as Foul Phil, and Kevin Thompson as Alligator. The Garbage Pail Kids movie was released in August of 1987, like Masters of the Universe, attempting to exploit a global pop culture phenomenon, like Masters of the Universe, catching it just after the end of that exploitable window. Opening in just 374 theaters around the US, it made a total of $1.6 million, which may sound like a profit, but that would barely be enough to cover the cost of production, and certainly not enough to cover marketing, distribution, and any other associated costs the production would have incurred. Reviews were not kind. "A stunningly inept and totally reprehensible film," said TV Guide. "An ugly, brutal, humorless exploitation flick," said Richard Friedman of Newhouse News Service. "Garbage Pail Kids drops a stink bomb," said the LA Times. No one sets out to make a bad movie. Technical competency aside, whether or not the people working on this film actually had the ability to deliver a good film is secondary to whether or not it is even possible to produce a movie about Garbage Pail Kids that really captures the spirit of the characters on the cards. This was as good an attempt as any. The changes to the look of the characters was consistent with the agreement that Topps had made with OAA. Those characters in the movie did not look like Cabbage Patch Kids, whether by intentional design or the result of an attempt to interpret those shapes as a living creature. However, because it was a low-budget costume and the limitations of the suit and the animatronics become a part of the character, they become something even creepier than they were imagined to be. They were supposed to be kids. They certainly didn't act like kids, and they absolutely did not look like kids. Their behavior combined with the costume connects them to movie characters like Howard the Duck, or Gremlins, or E.T., or Mac and Me, or any of the dozens of characters created during this era of practical, puppeted monsters and visual effects that are intended specifically to be alien. This would have been an entirely different movie if the Garbage Pail Kids had actually been kids, or dolls come to life. As it is, it lacked the very thing that had made the cards so popular in the first place, the inherent beauty of the artwork on the cards. Rumors persist over the years that a very different movie was originally being developed, that Garbage Pail Kids was going to be more like the adult B-movie horror films of the day, more like Nightmare on Elm Street, or Critters, or Troll. We couldn't directly confirm it, but some reports suggest that there was a pitch where the Garbage Pail Kids were actually created from broken dolls irradiated by toxic sludge. Sludge that not only brings the kids to life, but turns them into killer monsters. It is possible that effects artist John Carl Buechler was being considered to direct. If that had been the case, it was likely that it would have been even more in line with the kinds of films he was known for. Troll, Cellar Dweller, Friday the 13th Part 7, real horror films. It is also possible that there could have been a sequel. Amato and likely Topps assume that they could have a potential franchise on their hands. The end of the movie certainly implies that there are adventures ahead for the Garbage Pail Kids. Amato said he was definitely not interested in writing or directing, but would be happy to consult on the script and help select a director. But we here in the future know that that never happened, and God willing, never will. Most of the merchandising related to the movie was merchandise that was already on the market related to the cards, and there was a lot of that. Movie-specific items weren't as abundant. There was a soundtrack album released on record and cassette, some postcards, posters, and that's about all we could find. The Garbage Pail Kids movie bombed. It bombed hard, but it wasn't the reason that, just a year later, Topps stopped publishing the cards. Rather, it wasn't the only reason. The changes to the design of the kids themselves due to the OAA lawsuit didn't help. The performance of the movie absolutely did not help. It could have reinvigorated the brand for a new batch of kids, for a new batch of collectors to replace the kids who, after 3 years, had moved on to other things. After 15 consecutive series from 1985 to 1988, Topps finally stopped putting out the garbage. A 16th series was produced but not released at the time. Kids' tastes change fast, and Garbage Pail Kids were yesterday's obsession. 15 years later, Topps brought Garbage Pail Kids back to the shelves with an all-new series. Most of the cards were images that had been produced for the original 16th series but never released. New sets have been released nearly every year since. The Garbage Pail Kids movie was released on VHS and DVD, and then again on special edition Blu-ray in 2015 for the 30th anniversary of the original card series. It is not currently available streaming from anywhere or for rent or to buy digitally. You can still get it if you know a guy. The Garbage Pail Kids movie won several awards. Dubious awards, joke awards, sure, but honestly, those are the most appropriate. For a series that was powered by mocking institutional authorities, what better way to celebrate it than by giving it all the Razzies? It was nominated for 3 Golden Raspberries for Worst Original Song, Worst Visual Effects, and Worst New Star. It was nominated for Worst Picture at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, but lost to Spaceballs, which says more about the Stinkers Awards than it does about the Garbage Pail Kids movie. The Garbage Pail Kids movie didn't destroy everyone's careers. It didn't bankrupt the movie studio. It didn't kill the line of trading cards it was based on. It did leave some marks that took some time to get over. Mackenzie Aston said that being in the movie haunted him for years until he just stopped caring about it and accepted it for what it was. He leaned into it and embraced it as part of his life. Hearing people today mocking it, but also celebrating it, helped him get over it. Because the Garbage Pail Kids movie isn't that bad. It's not good, but today, looking back, it's not that bad. There are definitely worse films that have been released and will be released in the future. The barrier to entry is far lower than it was in 1987. It is hard to understand how it got made in the first place, and even harder to understand how today it still begs our attention, because this movie is weird and gross. It's disturbing and unsettling. But that's what it should be, today and forever, because that is what the Garbage Pail Kids are. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, if you would like early access to the videos ad-free, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy. Check out our new merch store at beanscannon.com and let us know in the comments down below if you've ever seen the Garbage Pail Kids movie. I literally had never seen it until I watched it specifically for this video. My apologies to my friend Brian, who gave it to me on DVD like 15 years ago. My mom said I wasn't allowed to watch it, and I wasn't sure what the statute of limitations was on that. I figured 40 years was enough, and honestly, I think I liked it more than I would have if I had watched it at any point prior to last week. So, thanks, Mom. You just keep winning.
Cut.